You're listening to Alt Radio on the Thursday Night Show.
Hi, Sally. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Stephen.
With me is Sally Reynolds from Media and Learning Association and from the company ATIT. Sally, can you tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from?
Okay. I'm originally Irish, Stephen. I was born and bred just outside Dublin, in a place called Garristown, North County Dublin. And I lived in Ireland, in fact, up until my mid-30s. But then I moved to Belgium. I used to say for career reasons, but in fact, the truth is I fell in love with the Belgian, and so I moved. And so I've been here ever since. So I feel myself something of a kind of a crossover at this stage. I carry both passports, so I'm half Irish and half Belgian.
And if you say north of County Dublin, is that outskirts of Dublin, or is it the countryside?
Where I come from is very much the countryside. In fact, even though it's only 25, 30 kilometres outside Dublin, it's North County Dublin. And my father was a horse breeder, but I grew up basically on a farm. And so it was really a rural upbringing, despite being quite close to Dublin. So It meant that, in fact, I didn't really go to school till I was 7. I went into the local convent for 2 years. And then at age 9, I was packed off to boarding school in Dublin. So I was a boarder with the Loreto nuns in the middle of Dublin from when I was 9 until I was 15. So that'll give you a little bit of a background by way of education.
Well, boarding schools and nuns have some not so positive connotations these days, but how was it for you?
Yeah, I have to say it was a very interesting experience. I look back on it now, of course, with the wisdom or with hindsight of the years, because the school was great. I mean, we were encouraged. Because all girls school, of course, taught by nuns, even though we were bang slap in the middle of Dublin, Stephen's Green, if you know Dublin. Yes. So literally in the middle of the city, we were very protected altogether, but we were given loads of opportunities. There was no question of us not studying science. There was no question of us not doing maths. There was also no question of us not having careers, which was interesting because I'm 67 now, so we're talking quite a few years back in terms of those days. So, it wasn't a finishing school for girls by any manner of means. It was preparation for a career. So I stuck at boarding school until I was 15 after I did my inter-certificate. And then I said to my mother, basically, I'm either going to day school, or I'm going to become a hairdresser, because my friend Joni was becoming a hairdresser and was leaving school. So I suppose the lesser of two evils, my parents agreed that I would then go in and out by bus into school. So I spent my last 2 years going to the same school, but travelling in and out by bus every day, which after the first week I realised was a big mistake, because it was an hour and a half in each direction and I was absolutely exhausted. But I couldn't give in, because once you've made the point when you're 15 or 16, you don't go back. And I did my final 2 years as a day girl in the same school. But yeah, okay, it was somewhat repressive, but it was of its time.
The first song you chose, can you tell us a bit about that?
I chose U2, Sunday Bloody Sunday, because growing up in Ireland, it was all about music suddenly becoming really popular, insofar as that we moved away from all of the, the shebeen sort of stuff, and suddenly there was U2. So, and I chose that particular song because Sunday Bloody Sunday, of course, refers to the Troubles, which was the time when I was growing up in Ireland and when I went to work, in fact, across the border in Northern Ireland. So that's why I chose that song. And I like the song as well.
This song is not a rebel song. This song is Sunday Bloody Sunday. I can't believe the news today.
And if you think back to school, is it mainly the social context, groups of friends, or is it also some teachers that, pop up?
There are a couple of teachers who popped up. Actually, the science teacher, funny enough, I mentioned it earlier as well too. But it was the social contact. We were such close circles of friends, did everything together. You missed them during the holidays. It was very much. I wasn't that sporty. I played hockey badly, always in goal because I was tall, so they stuck me into the goal. I wasn't very good, wasn't very enthusiastic. I loved music, and I also went to the College of Music in Dublin at the time. I was doing a lot of singing. And probably in the back of my head, I kind of fancied myself as maybe having a career in that direction, but it wasn't to be. But it was. I think it was kind of a well-rounded education. I mean, we used to do things like we would sneak out of school on a Saturday afternoon and change our clothes in the toilet in St. Stephen's Green and go off down to the Dandelion Market for a couple of hours and sneak back in again. Didn't get into too much trouble, broke a few rules, but it was all kind of okay from that point of view. It kind of matched. And yeah, I think also the nuns were quite good at making sure we got to the theatre in Dublin. We went to lots of festivals and things like that, outings. So I think it was probably okay. One thing I always regretted, of course, that's probably because of where I live now, not enough emphasis on foreign languages. But of course, that's typical of all English-speaking schools the world over. So that's probably the main regret I would have now, that my languages weren't better developed by the time I moved house.
How was your Quidditch?
My Quidditch was non-existent. Good question.
And then, you're 17, you finished school. What's your view on who will Sally Reynolds be when she grows up?
I had, honestly, apart from a bit of an interest in music, I don't think I had any great interest in what I wanted to be or to do. I just wanted to somehow, I don't remember any great, maybe it's because it's so long ago, but first of all, we had a bit of career guidance at school. But it wasn't I was kind of a real middle student. And I ended up, if anybody's familiar with the Irish Leaving Certificate, I ended up with 3 basic honours in my leaving, which is kind of mediocre. So I clearly wasn't destined for any, great academic career. And then a couple of things happened. I somehow got interested in speech therapy. And so I wanted to apply for speech therapy college at the time. And they, in fact, didn't take you until you were 18. So I was too young. So I suddenly had this gap year, which was quite, when I think back on it, was quite interesting. I mean, in recent years, lots of people have gap years. Then they weren't so common. And what I decided to do at my gap year was that I went to work for something called the Simon Community in Dublin, which was a community-based service that worked with street people. So I found myself, age 17, in fact, running a house in quite close to where I went to school, in fact, on the other side of St. Stephen's Green, with another equally young, inexperienced woman for guys who were living on the street. This was kind of a halfway house. So after the year, I then enrolled in Dublin College of Speech Therapy, which at the time was connected to the National Rehabilitation Board and also to Trinity College. So we did all of our medical stuff in Trinity and then all of our speech therapy stuff out in the college, which was a different experience than a university experience, I can tell you. It was very small. We had 15 people per year, all women, except for one guy, first speech therapist, it was in my year, and very controlled learning insofar as it was Monday to Friday. We were told on the first day by the nun who ran the college that there would be, if you think you're going to university here and you're going to have time off for parties and stuff, forget it. This is hard work. And that's the way it was. 3 years of speech therapy college. So that's what I did not straight after school, a year after leaving school. I think probably it's worth saying as well too, and this is true of a lot of people in Ireland in college years, probably the most formative part of my education were the summers, because we spent always our summers in America, because that's where we went to make a few bob in the summer. And we also I did a placement, for example, in a camp in the States as well for handicapped kids, which our college had a relationship with. So I spent literally end of summer, first year, second year and third year, always in the States. And that was formative insofar as that was working for myself, fending for myself, traveling around, always with other people as well. We always went with friends and with people from college. But that was an eye-opener, because that was, America in the 70s, which was a very different place than Ireland in the 70s. Yeah. So that was interesting,
Sally, the second song was related to, studying and going to school. What did you choose and how was it related?
Well, in fact, I chose the Pogues' Fairy Tale of New York, and it was about studying really and going to the US as a student more than anything else, because the first trips to cities like New York and Washington, Dublin suddenly seemed a very small place, and I just loved that Fairy Tale of New York song from the Pogues. And recently, when the guy died, there was the most incredible funeral in Ireland, and the song was being played everywhere. So I just really like it as a song, the Pogues.
It was Christmas Eve, babe, in the drunk tank. An old man said to me, won't see another one. And then he sang a song, the rare old mountain dew. I turned my face away and dreamed about you. Got on a lucky one, came in 18 to 1. I've got a feeling this year's for me and you. So happy Christmas, I love you, baby. I can see a better time when all our dreams come true.
They got cars big as bars, they got rivers of gold, but the windows right through you, it's no place for the old. When you first took my hand on a cold Christmas Eve, you promised me Broadway was waiting for me. You're handsome,
You were pretty queen of New York City. When the band finished playing, they held out for more.
Sinatra was swinging, all the drunks they were singing. We kissed on the corner, then danced through the night. The boys of the NYPD choir were singing, go away, babe. And the bells were ringing out for Christmas Day. You're a bum, you're a punk,
You're an old slut and junk, and they're almost dead on a trip in that bed.
you scumbag, you maggot, you cheap, lousy faggot. Happy Christmas, you're ours, I pray God it's our loss. The boys of the NYPD choir still singing, go away, babe. And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
I could have been someone.
Well, so could anyone. You took my dreams from me when I first found you.
I kept them with me, babe. I put them with my own. Can't make it all alone. I built my dreams around you.
The boys of the NYPD choir still singing, go away, babe.
And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
You're listening to Alt Radio on the Thursday Night Show.
So you said you stayed in Ireland until your mid-30s. So what did you do when you were 21 and finished your, speech therapy?
Well, we had a very good system in Ireland at the time, because speech therapists were and still are very much in demand. So the health boards, in fact, would approach you going into third year and offer you a placement or offer you a job. And they would then help fund your fees for your final year. So that's exactly what I did. So the Northeastern Health Board, I got a job with them. So already contracted in my final year of college, and I started working with them immediately the summer after I left college. Then I worked for 5 years for the Northeastern Health Board. As a speech therapist covering 5 different clinics, 1 day each week, very short periods of time with each patient. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure I was very good at it, but it was an interesting experience. Left it then after 5 or 6 years, moved back to Dublin and worked as a speech therapist for a further year.
Third song is again Irish music. Can you tell us a bit about why you chose that?
Yeah, I chose Enya. only time, and it kind of matches the time when I started to work as a speech therapist and becoming financially independent, being able to buy my own music. And Enya's music was just lovely, and it was also a kind of a counterbalance to when I lived in the northeast and in Cavan and that part of Ireland. There was an awful lot of country and western music, and we used to have to, if you were going out, you had to put up with a lot of that, which wasn't really my taste, but Enya was, and I just love this piece of music. It's haunting.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time. Who can say why your heart sighs as your love flies? Only time. And who can say why your heart cries when your love lies? Only Who can say when the roads meet that love might be in your heart? And who can say when the day sleeps if the night keeps all your heart? Night keeps all your Who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time. And who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. Who knows? Only time.
By then I started to get interested in media, and I had already in Cavan got involved with the local pirate station, because in those days Ireland only had one radio and TV service, RTÉ, the National Public Service Broadcaster, and at that time, so late 70s, well, early 80s we're talking about now, there was a lot of pirate stations growing up around the country, and so I got involved in working for one, again to my father's horror, and started to do bits of work around radio, doing interviews, doing some production work, and then so my first proper job in radio then happened I left speech therapy in the sort of 82, 83. I went to work for a community radio station, which was still pirate, but was kind of respectable, called BLB, Bray Local Broadcasting, where I was the manager for a couple of years, 2 years, I think, which was great fun because even though we were illegal, I was even taxed. Even my salary was taxed. So it was kind of quite schizophrenic of the government, I think. But that stage things were changing and they were looking at licensing radio in a different kind of way. And I got really involved in community broadcasting, which was very interesting because At that time, there still is, there was an international organisation called AMARC, which is the Association for Community Broadcasters, and I somehow got involved in representing Ireland on that, and so went to some interesting conferences in Nicaragua and Canada in the 80s, all about community and broadcasting and how the two could come together. Then, this is probably much too long-winded to be useful, but anyway, let me continue. I then applied to RTE, to the national broadcaster, and so was taken on board as a trainee radio producer in the mid-80s and trained and worked as a radio producer for about 2 years for RTE, which was very interesting. Public service broadcasting. I was managing a daytime programme and also did some holiday work as well, production work. Out of that, came an interest in educational broadcasting because UCD was looking to have an educational radio service, which is why your interview today is really interesting to me to do. And so I went to work for UCD, where we were producing educational media with RT broadcast. So I did then we did a couple of series of TV programs for RT for daytime educational media, educational television, back in the days when all of the public service broadcasters had educational departments and they were working in education. Not too many of them left, sadly, anymore. From UCD then got involved in the Audiovisual Centre in UCD. It was run by Michael Foley, who was somebody who was a great innovator in his day in terms of using media for education. And so I got involved in educational projects with Michael, and the first one I was directly involved with was a project using video conferencing for very early stage broadcasting, video conferencing, 2 megabit lines supplied by the telco in the 90s. That was the first project, and so went on from there, basically.
Yes. The fourth song is non-Irish. It's American, as it were. How does it fit in your career at that stage?
Well, I think it's around the move over to broadcasting and away from being a speech therapist. And it's Radio Song by R.E.M. And just again, a song that I loved at that time in my life. And I hope other people like it too.
Hey, I can't find nothing on the radio. Turn to that station.
Hey, hey, hey. Everything to show, everything to hide. Look into my eyes, listen to the radio. I turned up the radio. I can't hear it. No, I can't hear it. Hey, 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 hey. Say off. Hey, hey, hey. Let me do that with you. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. Oh. Hey, hey, hey. Say what, say what, say what. Hey, hey, hey. Check it out. What are you saying? What are you playing? Who are you obeying? Day out, day in. Baby, baby, baby. Yeah, that stuff is driving me crazy. DJs communicate to the masses. Sex and violent classes. Now our children grow up prisoners all their life. Radio listeners!
You're listening to Alt Radio on the Thursday Night Show.
Never look back.
Never look back. No, stuck with it, I think, probably to a certain extent. Well, in a way, I think it kind of combined a couple of things I was interested in, which was communications first and foremost. You know, I mean, the speech therapy connection is obvious there, how people communicate and supporting communicating. And the radio thing, I just loved. You know, I loved the power of radio, and I still do. I think radio is just the best. In terms of media. And I love the fact that we're using more and more podcasts and we're back to audio, because I think it's just incredibly important and valuable resource and cheap. You know, it doesn't cost much, you know, so that's really good.
That's true.
Yeah. And the video side of it, I suppose, is also, a power of image, you know, so that kind of all made sense as well too. And just the fact that education, the importance of being able to engage with people and to grab attention and to use media to motivate and support people in their educational journey is just so fundamental. So I've loved this sector, loved working in it. Started, as I say, from the 90s and has had all sorts of different sort of stages to it, but it's been kind of the same line all the way through.
Because we met at KU Leuven while I was working at the Audiovisual and Educational Technology Center. And I think the first project we did together was on video conferencing.
It was indeed. Those projects were great. I mean, and they still continue to be. I mean, European projects for me have been extraordinarily valuable. You know, I mean, people can be very critical of these short-term projects, sometimes only 2 years or 3 years long. And they say what's left over from all that money that's got into these European projects over the years. But what's left over is a body of knowledge and a community out there. We know each other from back then. That's the people.
Yes.
There's a whole community. When I used to pick up the phone to talk to somebody because I wanted to make a contact somewhere, I never picked up the phone in Ireland or in Belgium. I picked up the phone in Europe because I knew people in different countries, you know. And it also, we had a common vocabulary, and we had you don't form community overnight. It's a million of those dinners in strange places and meetings with people you barely know and discussing how you're actually going to achieve the goals of that project, and getting to understand each other and learning the vocabulary for that. That matters. That matters hugely. Wouldn't have had that without all the European funding. Simple as that.
The next song is, well, tell us about the next song.
Well, I chose ABBA, I Have a Dream, because it's connected to when I moved over to starting to do European things and discovering European collaborative projects and stuff. And actually, I have to say, I actually left Ireland on St. Patrick's Day in my little car and drove off on the ferry to England and across to Germany, in fact, at that stage. And it was just after the Eurovision Song Contest. And in fact, it was the time when the Eurovision Song Contest that suddenly Irish dancing featured as the entertainment in the middle, and suddenly Irish dancing became incredibly cool. And for me also, ABBA and the connection with the Eurovision, I know it's a bit corny, but I mean, it was all about suddenly having access to a whole different world, because when you grew up in Ireland, most of your focus, as I think I said earlier, was on the US and was on the UK, and suddenly going to Europe was a whole new ballgame. And somehow I associate ABBA with that.
If you see the wonder of a fairy tale, you can take the future, even if you fail. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels when I know the time is right for me. I'll cross the street. I have a dream. I have a dream, a fantasy to help me through reality. And my destination makes it worth the while, pushing through the darkness, still another mile. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels when I know the time is right for me. I cross the street. I have a dream. I'll cross the street. I have a dream. Have a dream, a song to sing, to help me cope with anything. If you see the wonder of a fairy tale, you can take the future, even if you fail. I believe in angels, something good in everything I see. I believe in angels when I know the time is right for me. I'll cross the street. I have a dream. I'll cross the street. I have a dream.
But you've been involved in conferences as well, not just media learning, but you're also a conference organizer.
Yeah, I've loved conferences. I think for me, again, a conference is all about community. It's all about networking, and it's about putting people together. There's nothing I like as much as getting person A who's got an interest in something and person B and introducing them. That's it. And then step back. I love that, So conferences were kind of a natural thing for me to get involved with. And so I suppose the first, even though I'd had the AMARC experience with community broadcasting and I'd been to a couple of these international conferences, and in fact, we organised then an AMARC conference it must have been the early 90s in Dublin in UCD. So that was my first experience of actually organising an event like that. We had about 200 or 300 people at the conference. And so it was great, again, international contact Benelux people. This was people outside Europe as well, largely. So that was kind of interesting. But then it kind of really started with Online Educa Berlin, OEB, because I was at the very first one, which was held in Berlin on the former East Side. I was there as a participant because we were involved in a European project at the time, and the Commission was heavily involved in the conference as well. And so from the year after, from 1996 it would be, through until 2008, I worked in the organisation of the conferences, the Online Educa Berlin conferences each year, as they grew from, we started I think with 200 or 300 people to 2,000, which is the average number now. And also during that time, ICWE started the eLearning Africa conferences. So I was involved in the conference organisation for the first couple of those for the first years. In places, I remember Kenya, Ethiopia, I think we also did one together. And my role was always to do with the agenda, the programme, building the programme and supporting the programme, and loved it. And then since then, since the Media Learning Association, which we set up in 2010, we've been organising more or less an annual conference ever since. It's gone through different stages. For the first couple of years, we organised it with the Flemish Ministry of Education in Brussels. And since 2018, we've been organising it together with KU Leuven. And we just had our last one in June. So yeah, conferences. Love a good conference. I think, I love online stuff as well. Don't get me wrong, Stephen. I mean, we'd be lost without our Zooms. But there's nothing to beat meeting somebody, having a cup of coffee with them, going into a session, discussing in a session with them. There's nothing to beat that. And thank God we're back doing it again now.
So Media Learning Association, that's part of your current, role. Can you talk a bit about the rest of it?
Sure. Well, I think maybe it's just to kind of explain as well too. So I worked for various European organisations like EADTU, and the late 90s went to work for KU Leuven, indeed, where we met. But I think I always wanted to sort of do things myself. And so I was lucky in that my husband and partner, Matty van Buel, and I were lucky enough to be able to set up our own company in 1999 called At IT, because we wanted to continue the sort of collaborations and productions that we were doing anyway. We wanted to do them ourselves with under our own control. So we set up the company in 99, and it's still running. And through the company, I work half-time for the company now. Matty works full-time, and we have different people coming and go for the company. We do a lot of medical production work. We do things like live surgery. So for events and for training opportunities for surgeons, we put in the technology to support that. And I've done various European projects through the company over the years. But in the kind of the early 2000s, it became increasingly clear to us that this educational media, educational video side of things, that there was an association needed. There was something needed more than simply a loose bunch of organisations getting together to run occasional European projects. So together with 5 other organisations, including KU Leuven, including ONEJ in France, ourselves, also an Italian organisation for schools, Estonian technical support organisation aimed at supporting educational producers, and I can't remember the other one, but there's 6 organisations anyway. We set up what is based in Belgium, a not-for-profit. The association now has 92 members, so most of them, I think 70 of them now at this stage, are organisational members who pay a membership fee each year of €500. A lot of them are universities, but they're all people involved in educational media production of one sort or kind, media education and media literacy. They'd be the main topics. Yeah. And the association now does all sorts of things, and I work half the time as a coordinator of the association.
Okay, the next one is, again, an American song, I think.
Yeah.
After the European songs by ABBA, now we're back in the States.
Yeah, we definitely are. And it's Carole King, You've Got a Friend. And I suppose I chose it because, an awful lot of my work is about networking and friendships and collaboration and trying to, work with people and try and find ways to matchmake people. And again, it's probably very corny, but I love this song, Carole King, You've Got a Friend. Even though I discovered afterwards, of course, it wasn't written with a lot of love in its heart. It was, I think, all about James Taylor and a relationship with James Taylor. But anyway, I loved it as a song. So Carole King, You've Got a Friend.
When you're down and troubled and you need some love and care,
is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there. You've got a friend. If the sky above you grows dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind begins to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud. Soon you'll hear me knocking at your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, running, yeah, yeah, to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. Now ain't it good to know that you've got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you, yes, and desert you, and take your soul if you let them. Oh, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, running, yeah, yeah, to see you again. Winter,
You're listening to Alt Radio on the Thursday Night Show.
Have you seen a shift in the use of media in education since COVID?
Well, huge increase, of course. You know, I mean, when I started, it was linear video, and that was kind of it. That's what we were talking about. And so we've gone through all the different changes. And now, of course, you know, we're talking about immersion. We're talking about people are using all sorts, as we said earlier, podcasting making a huge turn. So the options there. So first of all, volume. That's the main change. Yeah, I mean, students expect multimedia now. It's as simple as that. And academic teaching staff are expected to produce their own or to have produced for them educational media of some sort or another. And that's the main shift, I think, is just the sheer volume. In terms of who makes it and the quality of what is made, first of all, who makes it? It used to be the Audiovisual Centre in university that made everything. Now, of course, we have do-it-yourself, left, right, and centre, and most of the production facilities that we work with in different ways have got dedicated services now, but they also support a do-it-yourself service in most universities where they lend equipment, provide training, and to a certain extent, try to manage the quality of what's produced by academic teaching staff themselves. So that's a major. So on the one hand, you have that development, which is still some ways under the control or the organisation of the service provider. If you want to talk about since COVID, I think that's a really interesting question at the moment, because suddenly we had what some people like to call emergency remote teaching, because that's really what it was during COVID. And every production service, AV service, call them what you like, Centre for Teaching and Learning, had buckets of money thrown at them, at that stage. Get us online, make sure we have all of these things. And so the media production side of things went, and there was a lot of resources, but there was also a lot of lousy quality as well. There were some awful things masquerading as good media then. We were all using, we were all using Zoom, we were all using video conferencing in different ways, but to varying degrees in terms of how well or not it was used. So we kind of had that with, and then I really detect over the last 2 to 3 years now, we have a real pullback. A lot of questions being raised because, first of all, universities are finding it difficult to finance themselves. Everybody's under huge budget pressure, and they're kind of saying, "What's the value of all that stuff?" So it's just an interesting time, I think, at the moment. I think a lot of organisations are asking very fundamental questions, as well they should, as to what actually is the pedagogical value of some of these services. So it's no harm that we're asking those questions, but I'm a bit afraid sometimes that as we say in English, that the baby might be thrown out with the bathwater if we're not careful.
The next one is, I suppose, not too well known with the with the participants of the old conference. Of course, in Belgium and the Netherlands, it's very well known. At least the original one. But can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I chose the next piece of music, in fact, Ramses Shafi and the Antwerp Symphony Orchestra, We Zullen Doorgaan, which means we'll get through this. And I chose it because it really meant a lot to me. It came out around the time of Corona at the beginning, when we were all locked down. And I'm a social creature, no more than many other people. And so suddenly this feeling of, oh my goodness, we were going to be confined to the four walls of our homes and our offices and spend a long time on screen suddenly seemed very scary. And I just love that piece of music. It's very warm and it's very uplifting. Is maybe a bit of a corny word for it, but I liked it a lot. So as you say, it's not something that maybe a lot of people are familiar with, but I'd love people to hear it.
How do you see the future of education? Or
Much
higher
more
education?
I think much more selective. I mean, the old days of just going along and doing an arts degree and hoping at the end you'll get a job. I think that's kind of less prevalent. The young people I come in contact with nowadays are much more driven, are much more thinking in terms of placement, career, where they're going. And I think that has a knock-on effect on the educational offer as well too, and it should have. Mm-hmm. So the future, I think, is definitely much more student-driven in terms of what students' expectations and needs are. I think it should, and is increasingly. We look at some of our members. I'm thinking of University of Michigan, for example, and looking at some of the facilities they have in terms of immersion and immersive learning experiences, being able to put people into dangerous or challenging situations and to learn. They've been doing that for donkey's years in pilot training and places like that. Now, the introduction of that kind of technology into our universities and higher education sector, I think, is really exciting and really important, and something that we should be doing. So I suppose that's what I think of in terms of the future is, in progress, better services, better measuring of what students are doing, stronger use of learning analytics so that we can kind of really see what's working, what's not working. I get fed up sometimes because people I know who are providing great services in education and media production are not involved in evaluation of research very much. They're somewhat bypassed from that. Mm-hmm. They spend all their time trying to figure out what the name of their organization is going to be next year within the university structure because it keeps changing all the time and they get driven, demented by that. And that's what takes their energy and trying to survive. Whereas they should be, they have great skills and great resources. They should be involved in the research activities. What's working? What isn't working? What can we do? What should we be doing? Mm-hmm. And I hope we do more of that. I hope we get it. We're not going to just swing back to the old days.
Yeah. For your final song, we're back in Ireland, in a way. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah. The last song I chose is Mary Black, Once in a Very Blue Moon. And I chose it really because of my partnership with Matty, my husband and partner in life and in everything. And it's kind of been the soundtrack to, Mary Black has been the soundtrack to our relationship. It goes back over 30 years now. So I wanted to have this song as the last song for this interview. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Sally.
I found your letter in my mailbox today. You were just checking if I was okay. And if I miss you, well, you know what they say. Just once in a very blue moon. Just once in a very blue moon. Just once in a very blue moon, and I feel one coming on soon. No need to ask me if we can be friends and help me right back on my feet again. And if I miss you, well, just now and then, just once in a very blue moon, just once in a very blue moon, just once in a very blue moon, and I feel one coming on soon. There's a blue moon shining when I am reminded of all we've been through. Such a blue shining. Does it ever shine down on you? You act as if it doesn't hurt you at all, like I'm the only one who's getting up from a fall. Don't you remember? Now don't you recall? Just once in a very blue moon, just once in a very blue moon, just once in a very blue moon, and I feel one coming on soon. Just once in a very
You're listening to Alt Radio on the Thursday Night Show.